Hello and welcome to Byju's IAS. Let's get started and look into our daily quiz. Let's look into the first question. Consider the following statements. The Constitution does not specify the strength of the State Public Service Commission but has left the matter to the discretion of the governor. The chairman and members of an SPSC are appointed by the governor. They can be removed only by the president. Joint State Public Service Commission is a statutory body. Which of the above statements are correct? Since it is asking for the correct statement, the answer to this is 1, 2 and 3. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article makes a mention of State Service Commission. When we look into the options, what are these options? At the central level, what we have is the Union Public Service Commission. What does it do? It conducts examination for recruiting people at the central services. Similarly, we have the State Public Service Commission, which conducts the examination for recruiting people at the state level. When you look into the State Service Commission, what you will have is a chairman. What you will also have is the members to this particular commission. So these members, how many of them should be part of the State Public Service Commission is not defined in the Constitution of India, and that is left to the discretion of the governor. So it is the governor who decides how many members will have to be part of the State Public Service Commission. So the first statement is correct. When we look into the second statement, the chairman and members of an SPSC, yes, they are appointed by the governor, but the removal is only given to the president. So the removal power is given to the president, only the appointing power is given to the governor. When you look into how many years they would be present, they would be present within this particular commission up to the age of 62 years, and prior to 41st amendment this was about 60 years. Now it is 62 years, and when it comes to UPSC it is about 65 years. So kindly remember, they can serve this particular commission up to an age of 62 or for a period of about 6 years, whichever is earlier. That would be the period or the tenure of this particular person. The Joint State Public Service Commission is a statutory body. Why is it a statutory body? Because the states come together, they ask for the creation of it, and an act is passed by the parliament for the creation of this particular commission. Since an act has to be passed by the parliament, it becomes the statutory body. So when it comes to the Joint State Public Service Commission, it is not a constitutional body, but instead it is a statutory body where the parliament comes together, passes an act to bring this into implementation. So the president will be the power holding authority. It is he who will make the appointment, and at the same time it is he who has the powers for the removal as well. So the annual performance report that is presented to the Joint Public Service Commission will be sent to each of the state governors, and this particular report will be placed in front of the respective state legislatures. Now let's look into the next practice question. With reference to Rabba tribe, which of the following statements are correct? The Rabbas are a tribe from Assam. Bagarumba is a folk dance in Assam which is performed by the Rabbas. Which of the statements are correct? The answer to this is one only. Why is the second statement wrong? That is because the Baguramba is a folk dance. Yes, it is played in Assam, but this is not performed by this particular tribe, but instead it is performed by the Bodos. Since it is performed by the Bodos, the second option is wrong. There is one of the folk dances called as the Hamja. Hamja is a folk dance which is performed by this particular tribe. So when it comes to Rabbas, they are present in Assam. They are highly concentrated in Golpara, Kamrup and Darang, and at the same time they can also be seen in minor pockets like Meghalaya as well as in West Bengal. But majorly they are concentrated in the state of Assam. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this particular article makes a mention of Rabba tribal women. Now let's look into the next practice question. The Sharda Act is one of the significant reforms initiated by the British in India. What does it deal with? Transfer of ancestral property, child marriage, remarriage of widows, prohibition of sati and female infanticide. The answer to this is child marriage. Why have we taken this practice question? Because of the reference to the child marriages in this particular article. When we go back to the options, we have the child marriage, remarriage of widows, prohibition of sati and female infanticide act. All that you have to do as part of the assignment is put on the comment section when this act came into picture. So there will be a particular chronological order. This can also be asked in your preliminary examination as well. So flood the comment section by giving the timeline when it was implemented. Now the question is, what is this Sharda Act? Sharda Act is also officially called as Child Marriage Restraint Act. This was a legislative act passed in the year 1929. The act fixed the marriageable age for girls at about 14 years and 18 years for the boys, and it is popularly known as Sharda Act after its sponsor Harbila Sarda. And now, because there were issues with respect to the Child Marriage Restraint Act, also called as Sharda Act, the government has come up with a new legislation called as Prohibition of Child Marriage Act of 2006. Presently, the marriageable age for a girl is about 18 years, and for that of a boy it is about 21 years. So what is this act all about? There is a particular child. Who is a child? Anyone who is less than 18 years of age. If that particular child is married to a man, that is what is called as child marriage. In this particular child marriage, whether the consent is taken with respect to the girl or not, it would not matter, because anyone who is less than 18 married to another adult, in such a case it will stand as a child marriage. As per this particular legislation, if there is a girl who was married when she was less than 18 years of age, and the minute she becomes a major, she would be able to go to the court of law, seek the assistance from the court of law, and ask the court of law to declare this particular wedding or wedlock as a void in nature. So until and unless she does not go there, it will continue to be there as a marriage. But if she is not happy with the marriage, within 1 year after she becomes a major, she can go to the court of law and ask the court of law to declare it as void. Now let's look into the next practice question. Arrange the following rivers from west to east: Ramganga, Gomati, Gagara, Gandak. The answer to this is 1, 2, 3, and 4. Why have we taken this practice question? Because of the reference in the Hindustan Times article. If we look into the map, these are some of the tributaries of Ganga. We have Ram Ganga, it is followed by Gomati, it is followed by Gagara, and finally what we have is the Gandak. So if we have to arrange from the west to the east, it means Ram Ganga comes first, followed by Gomati, followed by Gagara, and finally what we have is the Gandak. So kindly remember, this can be important from the preliminary examination point of view. You have to know the arrangement from the west to the east and also from the east to the west. So looking at this particular map, the answer would be 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now let's look into the next practice question. In India, other than ensuring that public funds are used efficiently and for intended purpose, what is the importance of the office of the Comptroller and Auditor General? CAG exercises exchequer control on behalf of the Parliament when the President of India declares national emergency or financial emergency. CAG reports on the execution of projects or programs by the ministries are discussed by the Public Accounts Committee. Information from CAG reports can be used by investigating agencies to frame charges against those who have violated the law while managing public finances. While dealing with audit and accounting of government companies, CAG has certain judicial powers for prosecuting those who violate the law. Which of the statements given above is or correct? The answer to this is 2 and 3 only. Why? That is because when you look into the first statement, CAG exercises exchequer control on behalf of the Parliament when the President of India declares national emergency. There is no such power given to the Comptroller and Auditor General. Since that power is not given to the CAG, it means the first statement is wrong. And when you look into the options, you have two options with one. One, it is A, the other is D. So we are rooting that out. A and D is completely out. Now what we have to check is for the third statement. Information from the CAG reports can be used by the investigating agencies to frame charges against those who have violated law while managing public finances. Yes, this is the right statement, since they would be able to take up this particular report, see if there are any discrepancies, and also file charges on this particular organization or a person. It is the right statement. So the answer to this would be 2 and 3 only. This happens to be a previous year question from the year 2012. Now let's look into the fact of the day. The fact of the day for today's discussion is Nipun Bharat. This is one of the initiatives taken by the Ministry of Education. What does Nipun stand for? It stands for National Initiative for Proficiency in Reading with Understanding and Numeracy. What is this mission all about? Basically, we have the National Education Policy. This was unveiled by the Government of India in the year 2020. According to this policy, any child who is less than 3 years of age should have the capability to read as well as understand basic mathematics, which is what is the mission of this particular program, where they want to ensure that every child has foundational literacy and numeracy. What is this foundational literacy? This is basically a child will try and understand what an alphabet is. It will identify the letter, it will identify the words as well, it will listen with comprehension, it will try and understand what these words are, read them with fluency, and also read those statements and those complicated words within the third standard. So up until the third standard, they should be having a clear idea of what a statement is, what a letter is. They should be able to make statements, and that is what is called as foundational literacy. So this particular program aims to ensure that all the children before the age group of 3 have the foundational literacy, and at the same time they also have foundational numeracy as well. What is numeracy here? This is about identifying numbers. They would be able to distinguish between numbers, find the missing numbers, solve some of the simple additional problems, solve subtraction problems, solve all the word problems as well. So on one side they would be able to make sentences, which is about foundational literacy. On the other side, they would also be able to play magic with the numbers, which is the foundational numeracy. Why is this important? That is because whenever you look at students, if they are not able to identify these letters and words and even numbers before third standard, after they pass out of the third standard, it becomes very tough for them to understand. Even making statements would get tough as well. This is where number of students drop out, and ultimately the very objective of education to the children will not get fulfilled. As a result, this particular mission is making sure that these basic foundational numeracy and literacy values are given to the students so that the dropout can be comparatively reduced. So kindly remember, the vision of Nipun Bharat mission is to create an enabling environment to ensure universal acquisition of founding literacy as well as the numeracy. So basically, this will be attained before the year 2026 and 2027. The original intention was to fulfill this criteria by 2025, but because of COVID-19, we have lost almost 2 academic years, which is why this has been postponed to 2026 and 2027. And this will be implemented with a 5-tier implementation, which will have a plan at the national level, state level, district level, block level, and the school level, so that this particular program is implemented at the swiftest of the levels. So basically, this is one of the programs which falls under the flagship program of Samagra Shiksha scheme. It is this that we have to understand in reference to Nipun Bharat. So this is it for today. Thank you for watching. All the best.